auction company here today. We've got a few tips that I'd like to bring to your attention. It's very important for us as a real estate company to educate our listeners. And those of you that own real estate and are in the market to be selling or buying in the near future, but specifically we're going to talk about selling today and some key factors that we think that you need to understand and know. There's a lot of information out there that people Google and they read and stuff, and some of this is really bad information, misinformation, and so we want to bring to you the things to the forefront. And so today we're going to talk about understanding the marketplace and what that means to have a true market and how that works. A true market is where supply meets demand, and how do we determine those values on your property? It's very essential. And so there's low supply, and so anytime there's low supply on the market, specifically we're talking about farmland today, we need time and exposure to market your property in order to determine what that value is. And so there's several ways that people sell farm real estate. And we're going to talk to you about two that are good and one that's essentially bad, okay? Because you need to understand that there are ways to sell your property, and oftentimes we see this, and these are really bad ideas, okay? So the first one is your traditional listing. We market your property, okay? Buyers, they like this. They negotiate with us, and so we go back and forth until we agree to a price, and we put that deal together, or maybe we agree to disagree, and so the buyers move on, and we move on until we find another buyer. There's a lot of transparency in a traditional listing, okay? The second one is the auction, all right? One of our favorites. No greater way to sell a farm today than public auction. You bring all the buyers in together, totally transparent. They can see who's bidding, what the price is. It is one of the most fascinating ways to sell a property, and it's the easiest way to determine what that market value is, okay? One of the worst ways to sell a property is sealed bids, okay? No, no, and no. It was never a good idea. It wasn't a good idea yesterday. It's not a good idea today, and it won't be a good idea tomorrow. There's no transparency in sealed bids. Do not let people talk you into selling your property sealed bids. What we find in the past is oftentimes a sealed bid is an attorney who maybe types up a little letter and sends it out to maybe half dozen or 2 dozen local farmers or something like that, and says, turn your bids in by such and such date. Buyers don't like that. They don't know where they stand. They don't know where they're going to end up. It's just a lot of unknown, a lot of speculation, and so you get many people that often don't even participate. They want to buy that farm, they like that farm, they'd be willing to bid on that farm, but there's no transparency in sealed bids, so they're not even going to participate. In fact, several examples that we have is where somebody walked in, nobody else bid on the farm, they actually bought the farm for the minimum bid. And so sealed bids are not a good idea. The marketplace needs time and exposure. You don't get a lot of exposure with sealed bids, okay? So one of the key factors in selling any real estate, whether you're listening today and you're going to sell your home that you've been in for 10 years, maybe it was your first home, you raised your children there, it's very important to you, is we need to transition our minds to understand that selling real estate is a business, okay? We need to make business decisions what's best for us in the long term versus emotional, okay? We see a lot of people make decisions based on emotions versus facts, okay? So we want to encourage you, reach out to us. If you have questions, feel free to ask us. But the best way to sell your property to maximize profit is to expose that to the entire marketplace. That's a true market value of what your property is worth. In fact, many appraisers in some of these sales that we see, including myself, we do a lot of farm appraisals, we're unable to use those sales as comparable data because the properties weren't properly exposed to the marketplace. And those prices don't necessarily add up to what we feel the true market value is. So if you're in the market today to sell, please contact a professional. That's one thing that we stress. We can't stress it enough. There is value in hiring a professional. If you're going to have your heart worked on, if you're going to have a heart catheterization or some type of medical procedure, you're going to go to that professional, somebody that specializes in the kind of medical care that you need. It's the same thing in real estate. Okay? Just because you can sell a property on your own doesn't make it a good business decision. Okay? You're going to leave a lot of money on the table. One example is we had some people that had 120 acres essentially, and so they were bound and determined that they didn't want to hire a real estate professional. They were going to sell this farm on their own. They put up their little for sale signs, and the only people that knew about that farm were the ones that drove down that road. That farm was on the market for about 6 months. Somebody comes along, makes them an offer, they sell the farm. The sad portion of it is they left $1,500 an acre on the table. That farm should have been sold within 6 weeks, and they should have made $150,000 more by exposing it to the entire marketplace. But they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to pay a real estate commission. I will tell you that oftentimes many of our clients have come back and said they're so thankful to have hired us because we were able to make them more money in the end and handle the entire process. There's a lot to selling a farm, a residential property, or a commercial property. We take care of surveys, we take care of all the marketing, we take care of all the paperwork, the attorneys, we do it all. We just help you understand what we feel that market value is. So there's value in hiring a professional and understanding how important it is to let the market decide what the price is versus what our opinions are. And that's where the traditional listing and the auction come into play, is we're actually letting the market do what it's supposed to do. So we wanted to just come by today, drop in, tell you a little bit about things, educate you a little bit more about the process and what you should be looking at and what you shouldn't be looking at. So if you have any more questions, feel free to contact somebody at Oakridge Realty and Auction Company, and check us out on the website www.oakridge-realty.com. Thank you very much.